Well done to the Digital Hub and Bank of Ireland for bringing this panel together. It's a very interesting panel and very mixed, which is brilliant.
Our mission is to make Ireland a leading web-enabled economy. And I was really interested, you said today is Tech Day, and that's a really important thing for us, because I recognise that, startups is not just a tech industry. Tech is not a vertical, it is a horizontal. It is for all industries and all sectors. So tech for me is much more a mechanism, and one of the things that we've been trying to push in the IA over the last 6 years is the embracing of technology by all businesses, not just people who are technology companies, but all businesses.
When I started out the business, it was actually to learn about technology and to learn about setting up a technology business. And so the whole aim of the business was, actually it wasn't to set up a business at the start, it was to learn, I was unemployed, to learn how to set up a technology infrastructure to sell car parts so I could get back into employment. That was the sole aim of setting up the business. So it was always about technology, and technology. We have more software developers than we have warehouse staff, and a lot of companies don't understand that. They think you're pure distribution and that's what you do, so it's all about technology.
Slack is a messaging application for Teams, and the central premise of it being that we centralize all of your communication all in one place, anchored by a pretty powerful search, which means that you no longer have to worry where, when, or why. You just know you can find it in that one place, and it will connects up to a whole bunch of kind of business applications that you may use, like Twitter, Dropbox, Stripe, GitHub, you name it, there's probably an integration. The product itself is about 18 months old, or at least it's been sort of in the public domain for about 18 months. We have offices in San Francisco and Vancouver, and have done for a long time. So by August of last year, we had 125,000 daily active users, and of August this year, we've got 1.25 million.
So tell me a little bit about the challenges of once you start growing quickly.
You hear that business is all about people, right? But you don't really, as a techie sometimes you think you can automate everything, but you need people, right? You need people, and you need good people, and getting good people is extremely difficult. But when you do get people into a small company, it is easy enough to keep them because they're doing so much varied work and there's nothing wasted. I mean, they can come in tomorrow, dream up an idea and put it up in front of 800,000 users the next day. So it is easy enough to keep people, but at the same time, it's been very, very difficult growing the business.
The office we have here is now bigger than the company was when I joined, which is a little absurd to me. So I think one of the things that struck me that we strive to do actually is remain true to the values. If you use Slack, you're actually connected to it for an average about 10.5 hours a day, and active maybe 2.25 hours. So it's a significant impact on your working life. And so we try to be sort of courteous and empathetic in every product decision we make. In the beginning, we were very much had our target audience in the Bay Area with sort of small, medium businesses. It was all very word of mouth, and still is. But now we're seeing, as you were talking about, sort of technology uses across the board in sort of hospitals, banks, so on and so forth, that weren't there at the beginning, and that's it's challenging to make sure that we can explain things in a concise way.
A lot of the supports that are out there for businesses are much more around the technology, and we need to go back to the core principles of running a business. And for me, one of the big issues that the startup community and the conversation around the startup community are facing is we focus so heavily on getting investors. For me, the frustration I see with incubators and accelerator programs, and they are brilliant, but graduation day is called Investor Day. We don't have a celebration of your first big customer day. There should be much more emphasis on that. And if you look around in the Irish success story, and I was talking to Michael about this earlier on, and so it applies to Mixed Garage, it applies to Redex Payments, it applies to Teamwork. They were bootstrapped. And that focuses in the mind in a way that the focusing on investors doesn't, because you really, really stick to, right, what is core? How am I delivering real value to my customers? And then when you get to the stage when you want to really scale and make that step change, you're infinitely more attractive. But I think, we need to start shifting the conversation away from always looking at investment and actually focusing on core business principles. Get customers money in, money out, make a profit.
So we chose Ireland because for sort of a number of, I think, particularly fairly evident reasons, and we have felt incredibly welcome, very supportive. The community has been incredible. We've had great advice, great support at every turn. No idea what I was doing in terms of many things specific to Ireland, and couldn't have made it without Digital Hub, actually. Pretty much fairly insane requests from time to time. So I'd say, having the support of the IDA or equivalent is super important.
Slack released figures recently. You have a fantastic record on diversity. I think you've got like 40-something% female? 39%. Can you tell me, because you were there from very early days, can you tell me, do you think that was by accident because of the type of people who were in charge, or was it very much by design? And is it something you still focus on? Because it is a phenomenal record. It's very unusual in the industry.
Every decision we make across in sort of regards to hiring, recruitment, promotions, management, access to training, anything like that to ensure that we're not inadvertently sort of excluding or favouring any particular group of people. Secondly, we also look at every process around retention to make sure that there are no patterns emerging there. We work with sort of an external consultant to help us out there. Thirdly, we also look at the pipeline, so that's to say we kind of sponsorship, helping out education.
The reality is all of the technology companies are scouring the planet for skills. And if you don't have a culture that is open to having women working in it, you are discounting yourself from 50% of the population from the get-go. I'm not allowed to talk about it now since I've got the microphone. So if anyone doesn't know, and Silicon Republic put together an amazing conference last year called InspireFest. It's on again next year. But 75% of the speakers are women.
We all know loads of entrepreneurs and people who work very hard in startups. There's lots of talk about mental health and things like that at the moment. It can be quite tough. I think we'll all agree it can be very tough. Would you have one important piece of life advice for the entrepreneurs and the startups out there?
Now I run a non-profit with no funding, and it's hard. And I think for the first couple of years, I probably didn't take annual leave and little things like that. And I didn't have any demarcation between my life and my work. And we talk a lot about work-life balance. And it's like they're almost competing with one another. They're not. Work is an intrinsic part of all of our lives. And in the same way as I know sometimes I've got to leave and go home now because I've got stuff to do tomorrow, it's about keeping it all in context too. And I just have this thing, no one died today. We all have bad days. But as long as no one died today, it's all right.
I think it's been an amazing journey. It's been absolutely incredible, to get a business up and running, to see the first order coming in. From an investment point of view, I would say always look at it. You can get money. I think there's plenty of money out there in terms of investment, but always look at the head behind the money that's coming in. Money on its own isn't worth very much. You really need the good people with you, good people behind you that have the same sort of business ethos as you do, the same hard work ethos as you do.
To make a generalisation, of which I'm perhaps not fond, people tend to be fairly driven who end up in this kind of position, and it's very easy then to slip into a sort of unhealthy kind of lack of balance and so forth. Personally speaking, having a partner who thought the internet was Google is quite useful. But I would say that you can never get your health back. That's one thing that I think bears repeating.
I think that's a fabulous note to end on, and we could all do with reminding of it every so often.